So what if I told you that the economic system you think you live in, well, it isn't quite what it seems. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the model that honestly quietly powers pretty much every major country on Earth.
Just think about it for a second. The economy where you live. Do you think it's a purely capitalist system, driven only by the free market?
Go ahead, really think about it. Because for most of us, the answer is a big no. And the reason why is exactly what we're about to break down.
Okay, so first things first, let's tackle a huge misconception. A lot of us tend to think of certain countries as, the poster children for capitalism. But the reality on the ground is way, way more complicated than that.
I mean, take the United States. It's often held up as this global symbol of free market capitalism, right? But even there, the government is super involved. It provides safety nets like unemployment benefits, it sets all sorts of rules to make sure businesses compete fairly, and it has laws to protect you and me, the consumers. That doesn't really sound like pure capitalism, does it? It's something else.
So if it's not pure capitalism, then what in the world is it? This brings us to the middle ground. The core idea behind how most modern economies actually, work. To really get what's in the middle, we first have to look at the two extremes. So on one side, you've got pure capitalism. It's all driven by the private sector, with this laser focus on innovation and growth. Then on the other side, you've got pure socialism, which is driven by the government and focuses on social welfare and equity. Two totally different engines with totally different goals.
And this is where we land, in a mixed economy. It's not just a lazy compromise, it's a really strategic blend. It tries to take the innovative engine of growth part of capitalism and combine it with the government's focus on taking care of people from socialism. The goal is to get the best of both worlds.
But how is this blend even maintained? I mean, it doesn't just happen by itself. That's where the government steps in. It has to play this crucial role of being both a referee and a stabilizer in this big economic balancing act. And here's the key thing to understand. The free market is a powerful, powerful engine, but it's not perfect, not by a long shot. If you leave it completely alone, it can lead to all sorts of problems like monopolies or huge amounts of pollution. So the government steps in to correct these market failures and to try and make sure prosperity is shared a bit more fairly. Of course, just how much it should step in, well, that's the source of pretty much all political debate, isn't it?
And this intervention isn't just random. Governments have a whole toolkit they can use. They use taxes to pay for things like schools and roads and to redistribute wealth. They offer subsidies to help out key industries or lower costs for consumers. They create public programs to provide those safety nets we talked about. And they use regulations to make sure businesses play fair. These are the levers they pull to keep the balance. Okay, so that's the theory, but what does this all look like in practice? Let's take a look at how different countries actually put this model to work in the real world.
Let's just compare two different ways of doing it. In the US, the balance leans really heavily on the private sector to drive the economy, and the government acts more like a regulator and a safety net provider. But in a country like Indonesia, while the private sector is still huge, the government takes a much more direct, hands-on role in managing key parts of the economy, like energy and infrastructure. It just goes to show there's no single recipe. Every nation finds its own unique balance.
So after all this balancing and all this intervention, what's the ultimate point? What is a mixed economy actually trying to accomplish at the end of the day? This quote from our source material absolutely nails it. The ultimate goal is to fuse that raw power and efficiency you get from free markets with the compassion and fairness you get from social welfare. It's all about building a system that isn't just powerful but is also protective of its people. And that, right there, is the crucial takeaway. This whole thing isn't about choosing capitalism or socialism. It's about building a hybrid, a system that uses the market to create wealth, but then uses the government's power to build a fair and stable society with that wealth. So this brings us to our final and honestly most important question. In a world that's facing massive challenges, we're talking climate change, artificial intelligence, global pandemics, the old ways of balancing things might not be enough anymore. So, how does this economic balancing act have to adapt to survive the future? That's the conversation we all need to be having. Thanks for joining me for this one.